What's up, guys? This is Derek from moreplatesmoredays.com. Today we're going to be talking about mewing. If you've never heard of mewing, it's a concept named after Mike Mew, or maybe it's his dad. I'm not 100% sure, but I guess they're currently orthodontists, but they have a different perception of how the teeth kind of develop malocclusion and basically get screwed up as you go through life. And genetically, we're not supposed to have that issue. If you look at skulls from way back in the day or whatever, when we ate harder foods, I forget the exact details behind the concept, but basically he's saying the process of eating softer food now in like standard Western diet and not chewing to develop, the surrounding muscles, and also the main thing, not having your tongue supporting the sitting at the top of the roof of your mouth, supporting proper jaw or maxilla growth, I believe is what it is. And if you basically, what you do by not having your tongue at the roof of your mouth is you allow gravity to drag your face down, and it creates a very poor jawline, and it contributes to like sleep apnea and breathing problems and stuff like that. So when I first saw this, a few guys asked about it on my Instagram. I got some DMs about it, and I kind of just wrote it off at first because it seemed like one of those kind of like PUA hate kind of concepts. And they talk about, I've seen so many of those things on like good looking loser forums and stuff when I used to be on there all the time, where guys would post like these guys would get kicked off because that's not like a productive way to go about, spending your time. Is they would like take pictures of themselves and or pictures of examples of poor facial structure and like Photoshop them into good looking faces to show you what happens when you have like a better jaw or something. And it was like, what's the point of this? Like, you can't do anything about it. It's genetic, so who cares? And so I started to watch some of these videos by Mike Mew on he's the actual science-based part of it. He basically went into it, and the first thing that got my interest was the sleep apnea thing, because I have severe obstructive sleep apnea. And then he talks about mouth breathing and malocclusion. And what I found really interesting is, so I've been a mouth breather my entire life, and part of that is because of I have a deviated septum, which I'm pretty sure I got from basketball when I was younger. And then I have my adenoids and tonsils have not been, well, I got my adenoids removed when I was younger, and then apparently they grew back and the tonsils are still there. And then I have like some scar tissue from the adenoid removal that was just like a poor job done by the doctor, I guess. So I have like a really inhibited nasal passage and just airway in general. And a lot of guys will comment on my videos and they'll say like, oh, like mouth breathing, oh, like that's so bad, like gear, it's all the gear. And it's like, I've always had this, like, regardless. And I have severe obstructive sleep apnea as partially a result of it. So I've had an x-ray done to actually see where my jawline sits, because one of the first fixes for sleep apnea that they'll tell you about is getting a surgery to move your jaw forward, or using like, I believe like a mouthpiece to basically, some people, their jaw is like recessed into their neck and it like blocks their airway partially. So I had that x-ray done. This was like years ago, and it showed I didn't have any inhibition of my airway in that spot. But I'm starting to think that that x-ray is not indicative of what's actually going on, because when I'm sleeping, one thing I've noticed, first of all, is when I'm sitting upright, if I fall asleep, I don't apnea whatsoever. But when I'm lying on my back and my tongue isn't, obviously I've never done this, but I'm going to try and start now. My tongue is not situated on the top of my mouth. It basically just falls back into itself, I guess, while I'm sleeping. And you basically like inhibit your own airway by, first of all, having a thick neck. So if you're fat, you're going to more likely have sleep apnea. But for bodybuilders in particular, where we just have like muscular necks, it still contributes greatly to it. And most bodybuilders that have a decent amount of muscle on them, or mass in general, they have some degree of sleep apnea. And first of all, get that addressed because it's a major health concern that you might not be aware of. But so basically, this Mike Mew guy is talking about how if you just consciously focus on keeping your mouth shut, keeping your tongue at the roof of your mouth, and putting, like steady, constant pressure, essentially for the rest of your life, and like adopting proper swallowing technique and breathing through your nose, eventually it starts remodeling your structure and it actually clears up your airway to a significant extent. So, first of all, the looks thing from it was another interest as well, because one thing I've noticed is from like a frontal perspective, it looks like I'm pretty lean. So, and when I get really lean, I have like a pretty like sharp, angular, decent looking face from the front, but from the side, my like side profile, it's like if I'm not really like sticking my head out kind of thing, which is not proper posture, it kind of just like sinks into itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and adopt proper tongue posture and breathe through my nose only, even if that means I have to get a deviated septum surgery and get my tonsils and adenoids removed. I'm probably going to look into that seriously now, because I've always kind of just like written this thing off as a genetic thing for your face. I just never thought it could contribute to your airway improving just by the way your posture and whatnot. Something I'm going to actually take pretty seriously. And the only issue for me is I have such an inhibited airway. I can't just like tape my mouth shut when I sleep, because I'll probably just die, to be honest. So like for now, I'm going to try doing it for like 16, 17 hours throughout the day. And then when I'm sleeping, I'm going to prop my head up on pillows to try and have better posture while I'm sleeping, to encourage nasal breathing and tongue in the right spot. But I anticipate for quite a while, I'm probably just going to keep breathing through my mouth while I'm sleeping, because otherwise I'll probably die because from the sleep apnea, and I have a big face mask over my face that basically helps me breathe while I'm sleeping. So yeah, it's kind of just like the start of my log for this to see how it goes. But if it can cure my sleep apnea, that'd be pretty insane. And I'm sure a lot of other guys would want to know about this if it actually works. Like if you can completely like reverse sleep apnea issues by just like fixing the way you're postured and the way you're breathing, like that'd be insane. And then obviously a side benefit would be improved facial aesthetics too. So anyways, it also interesting too about like the malocclusion and stuff like that. I have kind of noticed that this tooth, see how it's like, it kind of looks a bit longer than this one. So I had a appliance when I was in like grade, I don't know, like 6 or 7 or something. And I never had like full blown braces or anything, but I had something that kept my teeth. I don't even know what it was exactly because it was so long ago, but it fixed my teeth for whatever the issue was, which was maybe caused by mouth breathing at the time. So it fixed it, and then I'm given a retainer to wear over the years to keep it from, going back or screwing up. And I haven't worn that retainer for like a decade probably, but I've started to notice lately that this tooth seems to be sort of moving. It's not like this one's shorter. It's that this one is starting to like move forward a bit, so it appears longer, I believe. I don't think this is me just seeing things either. I think this is actually like slowly happening. And I think it could be to do with the tongue posture thing and like malocclusion starting to occur in like without the proper support of the roof of my mouth and keeping my mouth shut and breathing through my nose. You know what I mean? So this might all seem just like ridiculous. And maybe it is. Who really knows? There's a lot of anecdotal cases of people who have like really improved themselves by doing this. So the only difference I have to do is when I'm sitting here anyways, instead of breathing through my mouth, I breathe through my nose and I keep my tongue up. So to me, it's not like a huge inconvenience. So I'm just going to start doing it and see what happens. So anyways, the other thing that I found I'm going to be interested about, I'm probably the only person who's doing this who is also, well, technically on like PEDs. So TRT, keeps my total test around like 1,100, 1,200 nanograms per deciliter, which is like No natural human typically is around 1100 to 1200 nanograms. Most of them are around like 600, 700, maybe even less now. The average is getting worse and worse all the time. And yeah, so it's gonna, the tongue muscle, the tongue is also a muscle. So it's gonna hyper respond in me, who has a significantly higher testosterone level than these other guys trying this. So I'm gonna be interested to see if it makes a difference on how quick I get results, or how drastic they are, or anything like that. But I think it's pretty interesting for somebody who, you know, obviously Mike Mew can't just like give somebody tests and see what happens. So this might be some good info for him to draw off of or something. But everything hyper responds in me due to that like borderline, or like technically super physiological level based on my body fat percentage, because there's no way I'd be walking around at like 1200 nanograms at like 7-8% body fat otherwise, you know what I mean? Typically in a normal person it would drop. So my tongue should hyper respond, but it should be interesting to see what happens. So anyways, I'll keep you guys posted on that. It'll probably be pretty infrequent because it's gonna be like a really slow thing, but if it helps the sleep apnea and helps me breathe better, that's gonna be like a huge win. So anyways, keep you guys posted. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe if you want to stay up to date with what I'm up to and stuff I'm putting out. Hit that notification bell. Check out my blog, moreplates.moredates.com. Talk to you guys soon.